Live from the University of Alabama with special guests, feature stories, and a comprehensive look at Alabama's upcoming game. It's Crimson Tide Kickoff, brought to you by Alpha.
It's the third Saturday in October, and you know what that means if you're an Alabama football fan. It's Tennessee Rivalry Week. The Volunteers are in Tuscaloosa in what on paper looks like a lopsided matchup. But you know what? They don't play them on paper. They play them on grass, and Tennessee will show up this afternoon at 2:30. I promise you that. And we have plenty to get to here on Crimson Tide Kickoff, presented by Alpha Insurance. I'm Gary Harris. But we're going to start off with a very special guest, a football legend with the Dallas Cowboys and the University of Alabama. Leroy Jordan is with us here for a very special reason. Good to see you again, Mr. Jordan.
Gary, good to see you.
Thank you
for having me on.
We're getting to know each other really well.
Yeah,
we've been talking a lot. But I want to go ahead and we'll talk about some football, but let's jump into the book. Leroy, My Story of Faith, Family, and Football, written with Steve Townsend. And I have not read it yet. I've read the excerpts, but this, as we talked about on my radio show yesterday, this is your life story. I mean, you pick it up in Excel, Alabama, growing up without power, all the way through the Cowboys, your business career, your family. It's all in here.
Yes, it is. And my family, my wife, Biddy, we've been married only 53 years now, and so we're excited about the family and faith and football all being a combination of my life.
Well, football is such a big part of it. You were a good football player in high school, and you found out you were going to have an opportunity to get a college education at the University of Alabama. And at the time, you said that really was your only motivating factor, to come to Alabama, to be the first in your family to go to college and get a degree. But it led to so much more than just that, didn't it?
Yes, it did. And, being here with the first national championship with Coach Bryant was an unbelievable experience, and all the teammates that we had and the coaches that we had at that time, special people, and we've remained bonded for life,
I've talked to so many men that have played for Coach Bryant, and all of them said he was tough. But I've talked to some that played in the late 70s and early 80s, and they said maybe he mellowed a little bit. But when you got him, now he loved his players, but there wasn't a lot of mellow to Coach Bryant back in the late 50s, early 60s, was there, Leroy?
No, he was a hard-working, sincere guy, and he wanted you to perform at your best every play, whether it was practice or wherever. And, he made you reinforce those instincts of being at your top of your game every play.
You were in the second recruiting class, and I know Coach Stallings was among the assistants that recruited you. Did Coach Bryant, I know he had the first class when he got here, but did he tell you guys y'all were going to win a national championship if you did what he asked you to do?
Yes, he said we would win a national championship in a meeting if we did what we were scheduled to do, and if we kept getting good players as we added to the team, and so he was adamant about that we could make the national championship a reality instead of just a wish.
And people forget you played some at center too. You played both ways some, which we don't see today. In '61 you win the national championship. '62 you're an All-American. Your final game in the Orange Bowl against Oklahoma, you had 31 tackles. Coach Bryant said if they stay between the sidelines or stay between the lines, Leroy, get them. 31 tackles.
Yeah, he knew how to motivate me. He was always kind of tweaking you a little bit so you'd stay motivated all the time. And that was the greatest game of my life, and so it was truly an honor to be selected MVP of the game. And President Kennedy was there and everything, and so it was a big deal for us.
And then from Coach Bryant to Tom Landry, you're drafted in the first round, number 6 overall by the Cowboys in '63, and that started a 14-year run in Dallas that you talk about in the book as well.
Yes, and I've got so many contributors, Gene Stallings and Joe Namath and Roger Staubach and Bob Lilly, and got 24 segments in there by other people, and our relationship is coach and player or teammates, and that's what I think it makes the book so much fun, is other people's opinion and other people talking about their relationship with me.
And you have your trip here to the University of Alabama not only was beneficial for you, but it started a run of your entire family. And you got 2 granddaughters that are here now. I know post-football you've been very successful, but I want to ask you about your family. I didn't do that on the radio show, but I know they've been a big part of this and still are today. Yes,
my 3 sons, 2 of them graduated here at the University of Alabama, and now we have 2 granddaughters here that are sophomore and junior, and so we're just continuing our relationship with the University of Alabama, and we got 6 more grandkids to look at, and hopefully some of them will continue to come here.
For the viewers that are watching us this morning that didn't hear my interview yesterday, I ran down the numbers yesterday. 36 interceptions, 3 for touchdowns, still the second leading tackler in Cowboys history, and that says something with as many games as they play today.
Yeah.
You are in the Ring of Honor, which I know is special to you, but you're not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm disappointed that you're not in. You told me you think there's a good reason for that based on the fact that the Cowboys were so good, and a lot of people on the East Coast and West Coast didn't like that.
Yeah, the press were voting on those guys to get into the Hall of Fame, and so they didn't like us much when we were beating the Washington, New York teams and so forth, and Philadelphia, and the West Coast team, the Rams and so forth, and we didn't get the respect that I think all of the us ex-players with the Cowboys should have gotten.
1967, the Ice Bowl in Green Bay against the Packers and Bart Starr. One of the greatest games in football history, the coldest game in football history, and I guess probably one of the most disappointing losses for the Cowboys.
Yes, it was. Bart being old Alabama quarterback, I felt good for him, but I felt really bad for our Cowboy organization because we'd been so close the year before when we played Green Bay in the championship game down there to go to the Super Bowl I, and we didn't quite finish that, and so Super Bowl II, we missed it because of the Ice Bowl, and that last play where Bart Starr's, it was a 1-foot deal, and he was able to get that 1 foot.
And later, though, you would finally get a Super Bowl championship, 24-3 over the Dolphins. Leroy, my story of faith, family, and football. You can buy it now. It's at bookstores. You can also go to the Bryant Museum, of course, and it's available on the website at LRJbook.com. Real quickly, too, all the proceeds, you're not putting any of this in your pocket.
No, it's going to the Bryant Museum and my academic scholarship at the University of Alabama in Dallas, Texas. So it's all going back to the University of Alabama.
And folks, Leroy's been working hard the last couple of days promoting this book. He's leaving here and walking straight over the quad behind me, signing autographs, signing the book for the soup store. So he'll be there until 1 o'clock, so you can catch him and visit with him as well. It's a great book. Pick it up. Thank you so much, Mr. Jordan. I enjoyed it.
All right, Gary.
All right, still to come on Crimson Tide Kickoff. Yes, sir. Several Alabama players are starting to find themselves in the Heisman conversation. Which of them has the best shot at a trip to New York City in December? Stay tuned. CTKO returns right after this short timeout.
All right, welcome back to CTKO. I'm Richard Scott, live on the University of Alabama campus. We are getting ready for game day at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Hey, this is a perfect day for some football weather. Temperature's a little warm this afternoon, but this breeze kind of helping things out. Let's go live over the Walk of Champions. I want to show you people already starting to line up. The team won't be here for a little while, but already got some folks out there trying to get that first row on the Walk of Champions. Temperature in Tuscaloosa 75 now, and again, the wind out of the southeast kind of helping things out, make it feel a little cooler this morning. Let's go over to the local satellite and radar loop and show you what's happening with that, because we got some high-level cirrus coming in, but, there's no rain with that. The air's still pretty dry, and the low is 10,000 feet of the atmosphere, so no rain through game time. Temperatures, though, starting to slowly warm up after a kind of cool start to the day. Let's head over to the temperature map, and I'll show you what we got on there. 75 in Tuscaloosa. If you're traveling from out of town, we got temperatures in the low to mid 70s across west and central Alabama. Temperatures are again warming up just a little bit. Let's go over to that temperature cast and show you what we got going on. Put things in future cast mode. I want to show you what we got for the rest of the day. By the early afternoon, we got low 80s in Tuscaloosa. By the evening hours, dropping back at the low 70s by the time we wrap up things around 10 o'clock. So let's put the clouds and rain on there and show you with that. Again, we'll advance through the morning hours. Right now, pretty dry again through 2:30. Dry conditions, a few high cirrus clouds to go in the evening hours. And again, the deal is there's no rain out there. So you've got plans traveling to Tuscaloosa, or if you're heading home after the game, no issues as well. All right, so the Bama, Tennessee forecast. Let's check it out for Bryant-Denny Stadium. 2:30 kickoff, around 81. Partly cloudy skies expected at 2:30. By the end of the game, though, we will see those temperatures drop back into the mid to upper 70s. So again, Gary, pretty nice weather for game day in Tuscaloosa. Could be a lot hotter in October. If you remember last year, goodness, it was miserable for most of the first home games here at Bryant-Denny, Gary.
Yeah, Richard, definitely not bad today. Feels pretty good out here. Thank you so much. Well, anytime the Tide and the Vols get together, there are a lot of storylines. But this year, it's a whole different feel. So let's touch on some of the bigger issues, as always, in our Bama Headlines.
For the latest on the Crimson Tide, you don't need the newspaper. You need Bama Headlines.
Well, let's get right back to the third Saturday in October. The Alabama-Tennessee rivalry goes back well over 100 years. And unlike some other rivalries dominated by the Crimson Tide, this one's been back and forth throughout the series, with both teams having dominant runs at different times. But right now, it's Alabama that has the clear edge, and it's shown by the Vegas odds put out for this game. Alabama more than a 5-touchdown favorite in this afternoon's contest. That is unprecedented as far as a point spread is concerned. Well, Alabama's freshman class is making an impact all over the field, but it may be no more obvious than at wide receiver. 3 true freshmen are playing big minutes and playing together in rotation. It gives the Crimson Tide incredible depth at this very important position. Of course, last week, Alabama picked up another lopsided SEC victory, 41-9 over Arkansas. It was a good response from the single-digit win at Texas A&M the week before. With the win over the Razorbacks, Alabama is a perfect 4-0 in conference play. But another 40-point output and a defense that held the Hogs without a touchdown until the final 3 minutes of the game continues to lead this team to some really big statistical numbers. Just take a look at where Alabama ranks in the SEC. It's impressive. First in scoring offense and first in scoring defense, first in rushing offense, and first in rushing defense. The Tide also leads the conference in turnover margin by a wide range in that category. Alabama's rush defense is actually number 1 in all of the FBS, and that's why you're 7-0 and ranked number 1, numbers like that. Of course, it's more than just individual success that helps Alabama reach those amazing statistics, but it's the individuals who are starting to move into conversation for college football's top awards. CTKO reporter Johnny Congdon has more on the Crimson Tide's rotating Heisman candidates. Let's check it out.
Up until 2009, the Alabama Crimson Tide had won 12 national championships, had a living legend coach on their sidelines, and continuously churned out some of the best talent in the sport. One thing the capstone didn't produce, however, a Heisman Trophy winner. That all changed when Nick Saban arrived. The Crimson Tide have seen 2 running backs, Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry, hoist the most coveted award in all of sports. Fast forward to 2017, and this year's version of the Crimson Tide could very well send multiple players to New York.
Well, we're pleased with the way those guys have developed, and they've done a good job, and they've been productive, and we have confidence in them, and I think they have confidence in what we're doing, and they're not going out there making a lot of mental errors. They're actually improving their ability to be better players without the ball.
Running back Damian Harris has put not just the SEC, but the nation on notice by rushing for 625 yards on only 68 touches this season. Paired with a team-high 9 touchdowns, Harris is making a serious push to rush his way to Times Square come December. Sophomore quarterback Jalen Hurts, who is no stranger to the Heisman watch list, again finds himself in the conversation, with already 1,000 yards passing while maintaining a quarterback rating of over 148. And Alabama is making headlines on the defensive side of the football as well. Standout cornerback Mika Fitzpatrick is making his case to travel to the city that never sleeps, as his consistent play on the outside has made him one of the top shutdown corners in the nation. His playmaking ability and versatility set Fitzpatrick apart and undoubtedly will help his candidacy for the vaunted award. New York City is roughly 900 miles from Tuscaloosa, so book the flights now because there's a very good chance Big Al is headed to the Big Apple. For Crimson Tide Kickoff, I'm Johnny Condon.
Thank you, Johnny. Well, Jalen Hurts is certainly worthy of the sport's highest honor, at least being in conversation for it. He has 20 wins in 21 games as Alabama's starting quarterback. Winning is the bottom line. And other coaches definitely have taken note. That includes former Auburn and Ole Miss head coach Tommy Tuberville, who spoke to the Monday Morning Quarterback Club in Birmingham and raved about the Crimson Tide sophomore signal caller.
Alabama's, I had my doubts at the beginning of the year because Nick had a lot of young guys. But you just can't discount that quarterback. I mean, I don't know why he's not being on all these Heisman watch lists, because he just does his job and wins games, and he's not very fancy at doing it, I guess.
Well, it certainly helps to be behind an offensive line led by sophomore left tackle Jonah Williams. Williams took home the SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week honor after the Arkansas game, the Crimson Tide's third O-Line Weekly Award of the season. Williams also took home the unofficial award of Greatest Analogy of the Year when asked about protection issues for the Tide during the win over the Razorbacks.
There's a lot of things. It's kind of like, you go to Krispy Kreme, you want to surprise your daughter, you get her some donuts. You bring them home, and she's like, I don't eat donuts. I'm gluten-free now, And it's like, but I was trying to surprise you. I was trying to, whatever. There's some things that are just like, you don't prepare for. We think that they're going to come out, play cover 7, P coverage underneath that, rush 3, drop 8, and block all day. First, third down, we come out. We're going to, be in a 6-man protection. We should be fine. They mug up 7 guys. We're like, okay, well, they're going to drop some. Bring 7, you're hot off 1, you got to throw it away. I mean, are you a bad dad for bringing home donuts? You know what I mean? No. So it's just one of those things that you move on from. We'll be better prepared. We end up changing some of our protections and picking stuff up later. So it's not an ability thing, That's how I feel about that. So. Yeah.
What kind of donuts do you like?
I don't eat donuts. I'm like his daughter. Yeah.
Now that is interesting to say the least. Don't go anywhere. Crimson Tide Kickoff is coming right back. We'll break down this great rivalry that may not be so great this season. Are the Vols really as bad as they appear to be? We'll have more on that when we come back to CTKO presented by Alpha Insurance.
I didn't smoke my first cigar until my freshman year when we played Tennessee. I want to win, but I really don't care about the cigar thing too much. But, it's great, to be able to get a win and, carry on to the tradition to do that.
Well, to the winners go the spoils, or in the case of the Alabama-Tennessee football rivalry, to the winners goes the smokes. Apparently, the veterans aren't too focused on the cigar tradition, but it will happen following the game this afternoon. The winner will light up, and for the past 10 years, the winner has been Alabama. Welcome back to Crimson Tide Kickoff. I'm Gary Harris on the University of Alabama campus. Quad right behind me here. It's getting busy. It's pretty clear, based on Nick Saban's press conferences and his weekly radio show, that this was not a great week of practice for the Crimson Tide. And he warned about that in our Barkley Buick Cadillac GMC Coach Talk.
If you don't have the right mindset and you don't have the right mental energy and intensity and focus, you can't get the right mental rep. All right, so that's when you create bad habits. All right, that's when you end up showing up at the game not ready to play. That's when they get in the game and you sort of had this arrogant attitude about how you prepared, things don't go like you want them to go in the game, so you get frustrated, and then all of a sudden, top 10 teams get beat. That's how they get beat. And, I think everybody in our organization needs to understand that. But it's everybody's choice. You choose all this stuff. You choose your energy, you choose how you want to practice, you choose how you get ready to play, you choose how you respect the other team, you choose your mindset every day, you choose how you're going to play in practice, choose how you're going to get along with your teammates, choose all that. Everybody chooses it every day. Everybody in this room chooses it too. All right, so, and you know what? I can't make them choose it right. I can only tell them over and over and over and over until I can't talk anymore. And if they respond the right way, we'll be fine. If they don't, we could struggle.
Coach lays it out for you. Well, today is the 100th meeting, as we mentioned, between Alabama and Tennessee. The first game played between the two rivals was back in 1901. And as I mentioned, it's been a streaky series. Alabama was on the wrong end of a streak heading into the 1961 contest. The Tide didn't have a win in the previous 6 games against the Vols, but Bear Bryant's squad turned the tide at home, routing Tennessee 34-3 in Birmingham. The Vols actually scored first in the game, but then Bama put up 34 unanswered. After this game, Alabama's record against Tennessee was an even 19-9-6, but the Tide would never be on the wrong side of 500 again in this series. And speaking of streaky, Bama started its current streak in 2007. Nick Saban's first year at the Capstone. Bama's offense was on fire in this one, led by DJ Hall, who had 13 catches for 185 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 41-17 win. John Parker Wilson finished the game 32 of 46 for 363 yards and 3 touchdowns. Saban's Tide began a streak against Tennessee that is still going on today. Well, the last time these two teams met in Tuscaloosa was the national championship season of 2015, and this was a lot closer than it looked like it might be. Bama was 6-1 coming into the game. Tennessee just 3-3, but the Vols led with under 3 minutes to go. But then Derrick Henry changed all that. He scored on a 14-yard touchdown, his second of the game with 2:24 remaining, and Tennessee never responded. 19-14 was the final. Alabama's 9th straight win over Tennessee. A win last year makes it 54-37-8. Alabama in the all-time series. At home, the Crimson Tide leads the Vols 29-17 with 7 ties. And as I mentioned, Saban is a perfect 10-0 against the Vols as Alabama's head coach, and he's looking for his 11th straight win. And the 11th straight win would tie the all-time record for longest winning streak. Bama beat Tennessee under Coach Bryant 11 straight from 1971 through 1981. Well, we all know Alabama and Tennessee is one of the great rivalries in college football, but how much can a rivalry remain relevant when one team is dominating the other? For more on that, we bring in Zach Tigert. Zach, do the players at Alabama still consider Tennessee to be their rival?
Gary, it took some poking and prodding to find out how the players really felt. As always, all they wanted to talk about was themselves and what they're doing to prepare for Tennessee. But after a while, it became clear that this game means just a little bit more than the others.
4,018 days have passed since the last time Tennessee beat Alabama on the gridiron. Furthermore, the Volunteers have not won a game in Tuscaloosa since 2003, and they have lost 10 straight. In recent years, this rivalry has been lopsided to say the least, but the bitterness still runs deep.
You know, it means a lot. I mean, you know, I've been an Alabama fan, you know, for a while, and you know, I can remember back to when Terrence Coney blocked that field goal at the end of the game. So I mean, it's a big rivalry for me.
I definitely noticed from like the Manning era with them at Tennessee is when I really first took a notice of how big it really is, seeing it on ESPN, 30 for 30s and all of that. So we just trying to keep the tradition alive and keep the winning streak.
And it's not just big for the players. The game has social implications for the fans as well.
That's how rivalries are in the SEC. It means a lot to a lot of people. When you see all the festivities and all that, it's like, wow, this is bigger than us. Yeah, we're the team, and we're going to go out and do what we practice all week. But this means a lot to probably millions of people, from the state and from the South.
And despite Alabama's dominance, there have been some threats to the Crimson Tide's winning streak in the form of close games and near upsets. And though statistically these two teams are light years apart, all of those numbers can be thrown by the wayside.
In rivalry games, you can pretty much throw out the record book, throw out the records of the team, throw out what happened last year, throw out what happened so far this year, and make sure that you're ready to play your best game when you play in these types of games.
So, Gary, the answer is yes. Seeing that winning streak extend to 11 games over the Volunteers is at the very top of the to-do list, and this game means a lot to the Alabama players. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Zach. And I tell you what, if only the Coke bottle had an answer to Butch Jones' job security, that would be interesting indeed. Well, Brandon Cameraman is live inside the WVUA 23 studio. Brandon, it's another opposing coach that is on the hot seat, and Butch Jones may not survive the weekend. What do you got?
You're right, Gary. Some people thought he'd be gone after losing to South Carolina last week. But Butch Jones is still the head coach of the Volunteers, about to be on the sidelines for his 5th Alabama-Tennessee rivalry. Of course, he's winless in the previous 4. We're aware of that. Jones is 33-24 in his 5 years in Knoxville, but the Vols are 0-3 in the SEC this season, including an embarrassing 41-0 loss to Georgia at home in Week 5. Jones's seat is so hot he might as well be sitting on the sun. But right now he's just worried about freezing the Tide this afternoon.
I don't worry about any of that. All my focus is on our players and our football program and getting them ready for the Alabama game. That's all I focus on.
That's not for me to say. You know, I watch their team play. They compete hard. They play hard in games. They put themselves in position to win every game that they played this year except one. So we have a tremendous amount of respect for the games that we've had in the past, what we've had to defend, how they play, the toughness they play with, what it's going to mean to them in this game.
So neither of the coaches seem to be too focused on Butch Jones's job status, but we like hot seats, and it seems these days Alabama's always facing coaches on that proverbial hot seat. Take 2016, for example. Of the 15 teams Bama played, 4 have new coaches in 2017. This year, you just look at the opponents. Ole Miss has an interim coach. Texas A&M's Kevin Sumlin was on the hot seat, so was Brett Bielema. Jones this week, Ed Orgeron in 2 weeks, maybe Gus Malzahn in the Iron Bowl. A lot of coaches feeling the fire. And so that's our social media poll of the week. How many of Alabama's 2017 opponents will have new coaches next season? Well, half of the voters say 3 or more coaching changes by the beginning of next year. Almost everyone else voting say there will be 2 new coaches, while less than 10% say 0 or 1 changes. It all circles around to today's game with Butch Jones, which might be his last. But again, Nick Saban and Jones himself, they don't really care about that. Gary?
Thanks a lot, Brandon. Saban has been pretty clear this week. He thinks this Tennessee team is more dangerous than most people do and thinks they're capable of coming out and playing a good game. However, the numbers show a team that is really good in some areas and, well, bad in others. They're not good on offense. The Vols are last in the SEC in scoring, averaging under 22 points per game. On that same line, Tennessee is second to last in total offense at just 320 yards per game, and you can run the ball on them. The Vols rank last in rushing defense. However, they are good against the pass, tops in the SEC, allowing under 130 yards per game. However, they don't have an interception yet this season, which is odd. They also lead the conference in kickoff return yardage, so there's some areas that they've been pretty good. So there's the good, the bad, and the ugly, but Tennessee knows with Alabama it's mostly good, and that's bad for a Vols team that comes in with 1 win in its last 4 games.
Probably the most complete football team I've seen in a number of years. And all you have to do is look at their body of work through this season already. They lead the SEC in total offense and total defense. They lead the SEC in scoring offense and scoring defense. They're number 1 in the country in rush defense. And they have a plus 11 turnover margin. They do a great job of taking the ball away. They have 10 interceptions. So it's going to be a great, great challenge, but also a great opportunity.
And we have a great opportunity coming up right after the break. Alabama basketball is hot, both on the men's and women's sides. We'll talk Tide tip-off with the head coaches. That's next on Crimson Tide Kickoff, presented by Alpha Insurance. Well, the 3rd annual Tide Tip-Off returns this coming Tuesday night at Coleman Coliseum, taking an evening of basketball entertainment. Giveaways, both Alabama basketball teams in action. The doors open at 6 p.m. For more information, visit rolltide.com. This is an event that has just become really special. It's kind of the kickoff, or the tip-off, if you will, to basketball season. And in fact, we can get more information with Coach Kristy Curry and Coach Avery Johnson. If you can get one of these guys, it's good. If you can get both of them at the same time, it's better. Coach Avery, you may just have to deal with that headset. I may have to talk loud if it's called. We're having some problems with it. But welcome back to Crimson Tide Kickoff, and we got them both right here. Avery Johnson, Kristy Curry.
Good to see you.
We're ready.
Kristy.
Hey, we're ready to talk some hoops. Why, y'all are going to be together on Tuesday night, so why not have you together right now? This event has really taken off, and I think Tuesday night we might see 8,000 or 10,000 people, mainly led by the students in that building.
Awesome. You know, we're really excited. I'll let Coach elaborate more on that.
Yeah, we're pumped up. This is our third year where we've combined both the men's and women's team, and it's a partnership between Coach Kristy and I. I want to be successful, but I don't want to be successful by myself.
Right.
I think we have an opportunity and a really sweet spot for both of our teams to excel and maximize our potential on and off the floor. And a big part of getting our students and fans involved is our tie tip-off, and it's going to be a fun night. Lots of fun in games. I heard there's going to be a half-court shot with a great, I wish I can shoot it, but I can't shoot the shot. But hopefully somebody will shoot the half-court shot and make it, because that grand prize is going to be pretty amazing. I'll let you talk about that.
Take note of that. Yeah, you'll want to get an opportunity to get involved in that if you can. Coach Avery alluded to it, Coach Curry, but that's what makes this so neat, is this is the first time in a long time that I can remember that both programs have this much excitement surrounding them. You've got practically your whole roster coming back. Coach Avery's picked 4th in the SEC out of 14 teams. This is big-time stuff right here for the University of Alabama.
It is. We're in this together, and we want basketball to be great at Alabama across the board, and he's our #1 fan, and the support that they give us is second to nowhere I've ever been. So, hey, we want basketball, like I said, both programs to be great, and some great examples here with football and golf and softball and gymnastics. So we're just trying to do our part and appreciate his support of what we're doing, and we're going to give it right back to him. We're in this together.
And here's the deal, Gary. We understand both in terms of men's and women's basketball teams around the country, team that has been perennial participants in the NCAA tournament. So whether in men's basketball is a school like Kentucky or in women's basketball is a school like Mississippi State, we don't want to play second fiddle to any of those teams. And that's why we continue to need the support from our administration. You know, when we go out to recruit, you know, we got sometimes see 3 and 4 kids in one day, just like those schools. So we want to thank also the administration for supporting us in a big way to do our job so that we can compete with all of those schools that we're trying to catch.
I want to ask both of you about these particular teams. For you, basically everybody's back. And I know it's not played on paper, but on paper it lays out. You took a big step last year. This season lays out potentially to be the best you've had at Alabama.
Absolutely, and the best in 19 years. We want to turn the get back to the tournament, and so return everybody and some new faces to go with it, and depth and size and quickness, and we have strength in numbers, and that's what the SEC is built on.
And Coach Avery, for you, same thing. I mean, you got some guys coming back. I heard you at SEC Media Day. You said, yeah, the recruiting class, boy, they're talented, but we got some guys coming back that are going to be the heart and soul of this basketball team too.
You know, whether it's Dejon on our basketball team, you know, getting the ball up and down the floor, Jordan on Coach Kristy's team, those kids with that real SEC experience is critical. I know sometimes our freshmen, and it's great that our freshmen get a lot of attention and newcomers get a lot of attention or a transfer, but those guys that played for us last year, that went and played in some big games, or our girls that played for Coach Kristy that played in some huge games, that won some NIT games, that's going to be critical for both of our success.
I want to ask both of you about the season. I remember when basketball practice didn't even start until October 15th, and you didn't play a game to around Thanksgiving. You're playing 30-plus games now. The season's longer. Do you worry about the fatigue factor with your teams? I mean, it's a long season, and you start out fresh. Do you worry about the wear and tear over the course of the season, Coach Avery?
Well, both of us had our teams in Coleman practicing today, early morning, and I think we've both tried to gauge what our team needs. Sometime I'll plan a 4-hour practice. But if they're giving me what I need in 2.5 hours, we'll stop it in 2.5 hours. Or, you know, giving them days off. Maybe some weeks it's a Wednesday, maybe some weeks it's a Thursday. We don't like to practice on Sundays as much as we can. So I just think both of us having a pulse on our team. We love our assistant coaches, but nobody has a pulse on their team teams like the head coach.
And I think your strength coach, your trainer, your nutrition, all those things play a part. Those folks in your program really give us an opportunity to see where our kids are on a daily basis, and the little things in those areas make a big difference. The extra, rehab and making sure they're eating right and resting right. So all that comes together, and like he says, nobody has a pulse on those things like we do. So you plan every day and you just take it as it comes. They started 30 or 42 days. We started 30 or 40 days from our first playing day. We were day 14 today. What were you? How many days in are you? We're number 14. There you go. He's a day ahead of me, but that's okay. That's okay.
Coach Johnson, you said when you got here, if you're going to compete at the highest level, you may have to recruit some one-and-done type players. You don't want a whole roster of them, but there's talk that you may have one or two of those. Your thoughts on the rule that you can leave after 1 year?
Well, I want kids that are prepared for the NBA to get there as soon as they can and stay there. We don't want a kid to get to the NBA and be a one-contract guy. I would prefer if kids can stay in school at least 2 years. That would be my preference. I think the NBA would get a better product, and we would have a chance to develop kids a lot longer than basically one semester. So in our case, we have some kids that's been talked about potentially being one and done, but there's a lot of variables. Yeah. There's a lot of details that go into it, and they got to stay healthy, and they got to continue to get better and accept coaching.
I think there's nobody in the country at the Division I Power 5 level that would know that better as a player and as a coach at the next level.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, I think he knows a little bit about that.
He played just a few years in the NBA.
I'd want to play for him in Alabama because he could develop me and get me to that next level.
You know what, Gary? Coach Kristy's jump shot is better than mine.
We'll have to have a shoot off and
That's
see.
all right.
Hey, folks, both these teams are in talk for the NCAA tournament. In the conversation, hasn't happened in a while, so you'll want to come out and see them Tuesday night. Tide tip-off at Coleman Coliseum. It's free. It's going to be happening. Doors open at 6 o'clock. See you then. We're back after this. Well, for the first time this season, Alabama is unanimous #1 team in the latest AP rankings. With a lot of chaos in the top 10 last week, the Crimson Tide gets all 61 first-place votes. Penn State moves into second place, followed by Georgia, TCU, and Wisconsin. Ohio State moves all the way up to 6th, while Clemson falls from 2nd to 7th. Miami is a perfect 5-0. The Canes come in at number 8, followed by Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Well, that top 10 comes after 4 teams in last week's top 10 lost, all to unranked teams. It shows how fragile the AP rankings are and how dangerous every game can be. And Bama hopes to get off on the right foot this afternoon against another unranked team. The Tide would love to start just like it did a week ago against Arkansas. First play from scrimmage was a 75-yard touchdown run by Damian Harris. Before anyone could blink, Bama led the Hogs 7-0, and it's no secret the Tide wants to start out hot, and that's a focus for the coaches during each game week.
Every week, we try to come up with, an opening sequence of plays that we feel best about, where we have the best chance to get a hat on a hat and have a successful play. We don't expect it to be a 75-yard touchdown, but we do want to have a successful play and get off to a good start and create momentum in a game.
Coach Saban talks all the time about how, he wants us to come out fast, no matter who's on the field. So when the offense comes out first, we want to start having success. We want to put a good drive together and have it end up in points. And so, the coaches do a good job of scripting whatever they want as the first couple plays. And, we just kind of try to get into a rhythm from there. And like I said, we just want to get yards and put points on the board.
And now it's time for this week's Kickoff Cooking, sponsored by Sanford Restaurant Equipment and Ziegler Meats.
Welcome to Kickoff Cooking. Debbie, what are we making today?
We are making a ham, potato, corn chowder today.
That sounds delicious, especially on a cold Saturday afternoon watching Alabama football.
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely. I'm a little bit ahead of us here, so I'm going to tell you what I've done already.
Okay.
I sauteed some celery, carrots, and onions in some butter, and then I added some chicken broth and some potatoes. And I just chopped the potatoes up. So what we're going to do now is add the rest of our chicken broth to cover the vegetables.
Let me stir that a little bit for you.
I would really appreciate that. I'm going to add in some oregano and some thyme, some salt and pepper, and 2 little magic bay leaves, and let that cook for about 20 minutes. Let those potatoes soften up, and then we're going to add in this Ziegler's black peppered ham. I just cubed it up. It adds some extra pepper, and it just adds a great flavor to it. So you are the master stirrer. I'm just going to add that right into you.
This is going to be good there.
And I have 2 cans of corn that I did not drain, whole kernel corn. It just adds to the broth. And we'll just let that cook until those potatoes soften. But the thing that makes this chowder a really creamy, stick to your ribs kind of chowder is you add a roux into it. And I have made a roux. And this is my roux. It just thickens it up and makes it creamy. And I made this roux out of butter, flour, and milk, and a little bit of stock from the soup. And it thickens the soup wonderfully. It's really what makes the chowder a chowder instead of just a potato soup.
Yeah, that looks good too.
I'm going to brag on my pot while I stir that roux into our chowder. It's a large cast iron enamel pot. It's induction ready. It's cooking on our induction burner. So anybody with an induction stove or a flat surface.
An induction thing, that's kind of a new thing that's going on.
It is, and a lot of people have those flat top stoves now. This is perfect for that. It's just a must-have for anybody that likes to cook and cook big soups and meals. Or just, it's a wonderful product. We sell those at Sanford, and we have lots of different colors to match whatever color your kitchen is.
Man, that soup looks really, really good.
Doesn't it look wonderful?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Well, that needs to cook for a while and simmer and let all those flavors marry and taste wonderful. But I have some that we can taste.
That's why I'm here, Debbie.
Thank you.
To eat the food. That's good.
That's good, isn't it?
That Ziegler ham just kind of bring it out, you know?
It does, it does. It's so
icing on the
good.
cake. You did it again?
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
We did good.
You're watching Crimson Tide Kickoff on WVUA 23.
I just hate them because they low down, they dirty, they some snitches. And I hate Philip Fulmer. I hate their colors. I'm not a dog person. I just hate Tennessee, man.
Well, if you're an Alabama or Tennessee fan, you've probably seen it. A video posted to YouTube 10 years ago. They low down, they dirty, they some snitches. It's garnered nearly 700,000 views. And we got the gentleman who shot and produced the video. Nick Adam joins me here. Good to see you, Nick.
Good to see you, Gary.
Nick used to work
me.
in the sports department here at WVUA 23. So that was, of course, the year that Alabama broke the losing streak against
That's right.
Tennessee and Nick Saban's first season. And at that point, Philip Fulmer was still the coach, so it's a totally different environment now where Tennessee's almost become like, oh, it's just an automatic win. Those days, there was animosity going back to the NCAA case. Fulmer was public enemy number one, and that young man kind of summed it all up. Tell me how that came about.
So, you know, the story was that Alabama has another arch rival. It's not just Auburn. And so I wanted to kind of portray the passion in the Alabama-Tennessee rivalry. I was walking around on the quad, as you might see for those of us that were in school in the late 2000s. That was right outside the Ferguson Center. And this kid just said, "Oh, man, I hate Tennessee." And he just started going off. And I said, stop, please. This is all golden. This is all golden. Please stop and just repeat what you just said, but let me hit record. And so I literally just had to hit record and get him going, and he fired that bad boy off.
So it was impromptu to some regard, but you knew immediately with the TV part of you. Now, I'll mention now, Nick's into the priesthood now. He got out of television, which is probably smart. But at that time, you were thinking like a TV guy, and you knew right away this could be golden.
Well, he was just hilarious,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, just so much personality, and so yeah, I wanted to capture his passion, and I also just thought, man, some of those play on, you know, just the way his colorful language, literally describing the color orange, and then, you know, referring to Phil Fulmer, all these things. Yeah, it makes for TV gold. You're so thankful when you get a soundbite like that.
And we ran it on WVUA. He's become an internet YouTube celebrity. Have you talked to him? Do you know what has the impact of this been on his life? Do you know?
I have no idea. We have not been in contact together. AL.com got in touch with me last year. They found me via that YouTube page, which is long gone. I mean, I can't remember the last time I posted anything to that. It was certainly when I was still in college. But the funny thing is, I moved to Meridian to continue my TV career after I was a student here and interned at WVUA. And this kid that was a photographer for us, he said, "Oh man, you got to check out this video." And I was like, and this was 2 years later. I was like, "That's my video."
Yours.
I didn't know it was a thing.
You didn't know how to go viral.
Oh no,
okay.
I had no idea. And so it's become this thing where every year people say, "Oh man, we heard from Miss Chandra or one of the faculty members here." They're like, "Oh man, we heard you shot the video." I'm like, I literally hit record. You know, and sometimes you just luck into that kind of stuff.
Well, he summed it up for so many Alabama fans at the time, because like I said, for you younger folks, you may not realize it, but older folks will remember. I mean, Tennessee had become public enemy number one.
Yeah,
You're absolutely
no doubt.
right. And Philip Fulmer had tormented the Tide on the field, off the field, with the NCAA and so forth and so on, and Bama fans had enough.
Well, and you look back to my tenure at Alabama, it was the last 3 years of Mike Shula. It was the first year of Nick Saban. So that year was the first of, we're on a 9-game winning streak now? 10-game winning streak
for
now.
11.
So I just like to say, since that video was released, Alabama has not lost to Tennessee.
It's all you, Nick.
It's just, it might be Nick Saban, but I'm pretty sure it's
so good to see you, my friend.
Thank you very much,
And we
Gary.
see that video every year when it comes to Alabama-Tennessee time. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more CTKO live from the University of Alabama right after this.
Welcome back to Crimson Tide Kickoff. I'm Brandon Cameraman, and it's that time for your Capstone Village wild predictions of the week. We're going to have to be quick with this one. So I'm going to go right away. I think that a defensive player scores a touchdown, but on offense in this game. So maybe Mack Wilson, we saw that last year. Daron Payne in that jumbo package, maybe he gets a handoff. It's going to be wild, but I think a defensive player scores a touchdown on offense. Let's go out to Zach Tiger. What you got, Zach?
Great prediction as always, Brandon. Now, last week we saw Alabama's offensive line kind of struggle to adjust to the Hogs and what they brought to the table. No such problem this week. I predict that Alabama's offensive line will not give up a sack to the Tennessee Volunteers. Gary, what about you?
Zach, freshman wide receiver Henry Ruggs from Montgomery Lee High School, all he does is catch touchdowns. 4 catches, 4 touchdowns. 2 more catches in this game, both touchdowns. That's my wild prediction. 6 catches on the year, 6 touchdowns for Henry Ruggs. All right, great job, guys. That's going to do it for Crimson Tide Kickoff for this week, presented by Alpha Insurance. Thanks to all of our guests. Thanks to all of our folks that make this show possible here on location, back in the studio, and all over this campus. And thanks to you, of course, for watching. A reminder, you can catch the Nick Saban press conference tonight after the game here on WVUA 23. Then join Zach Tigert for a complete game recap tonight on the news at 10. I'm Gary Harris. Have a great day. Roll Tide, everybody.